Hi there. Welcome back. I had plans to film my January note cards this morning. I took a poll last week asking my audience on Instagram stories if they would like me to share my January note cards. These would be the note cards that I wrote throughout the month of January. And I'll share those poll results here if I kept the picture. More people were in favor of me sharing that than not. So that was the plans for today. That was my plans on what I would film. But God had different plans, and I don't say that with disappointment. He had another direction for me this morning, and when I felt He had spoken to me on what my message should be, I said, I'm going to be obedient to that, Lord. I'm going to be obedient to that. So here we are for some story time, and who doesn't love to hear stories from other people? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to unpack a story about my morning today, the day I film, which is Sunday, February 2nd. It just so happens to be 34 years ago today, my husband and I went out on our first date, which was a blind date. So yes, February 2nd, 1991, my husband and I went out on our first date, which was a blind date, and it was not a successful date by any means. You may be wondering, well, 34 years later, here we are, still grinding, still pushing through, still overcoming adversity, still exercising that resistant muscle, still working, growing, increasing, and expanding. So today, the day that I filmed this video, which would have been 5 days ago from today, the publishing date, it is Sunday, February 2nd. It's 6:54 a.m. Yes, 6:54 a.m. I'm all ready for the day. I am ready for church. The goal is that I film on Sundays before going to church, and I leave for church, or we, depending on if Paul goes with me. We leave at 8:15 in the morning, so I get up bright and early on Sundays to get ready and have enough time to film and plan for the little nuances, paper cuts of life that often show up when I film. So I do try to cushion that time. The other thing that takes place every Sunday is after Paul gets up, which is much later than me because my day starts very early, he will get his first cup of coffee and he will go get back into bed, and he will wake up with that cup of coffee and maybe open his laptop, get on his phone, maybe check the news, the stock market. Well, the stock market wouldn't be open. Whatever he does, I really don't know, and I really don't care. I'm too busy just trying to manage the morning and get out of the house by 8:15. So Sundays, that's what he does. And after he finishes his first cup of coffee, he will pour his second, and then he will come down into the basement in the room that I'm in, where I get ready, my filming room, and we will have a little meeting where kind of like a debrief about what lies ahead for the week. So you may recall, and I even shared a video maybe a couple of years ago, I used to create a daily list or communication and to-do list for Paul every day. And I did the same for Chloe. Well, Chloe no longer lives in the home, and I'm ready to step away from that to-do of my daily agenda. So Paul and I kind of changed things a little bit, as we do. We change things. And he has a daily to-do list that he has created on his Google Docs, and that document is shared with me. And then every morning I update his list and I share any communication that I need to provide him with, or any to-dos or anything he would need to know about household. For example, our second guest bedroom upstairs, which recently just went through some updates, our top outlet is wired to a light switch. That way, when you walk into the room and you flip that switch on, the lamps come on. One of those is not working. And so, although the lamp works, you have to manually turn it on. So I put that on his list. I needed him to cut up some vegetables for later because we have some of the kids coming over and grandkids, and I will be preparing food this afternoon. So he helps out and cuts up the vegetables. But instead of taking the time to give him a whole breakdown of the week or what's to come over the next couple of weeks, he now on Sundays comes down with that second cup of coffee and he sits in here, and while I'm getting ready, I look over at my calendar because I have a desk here, my laptop is here, I have the calendar up, and I share with him anything going on or anything I need him to know. I did a Zoom call with my fourth daughter, Carly, last night, and we spent an hour and a half visiting, which was so nice. As you know, she lives in North Carolina and I'm in Michigan. And so I wanted to share with him some things that she shared with me about her work. She is still in school, so updating him on all of those things to do with her life. Anything to do with the other kids or grandkids, I will update him. And we'll cover usually at least 1 week, sometimes 2, or just anything that's coming up that he really needs to know. So it's our little morning routine, and it's great. We just kind of dissect. When we're done, he heads off. It's almost like a work meeting, so to speak. It's if you had a work meeting and it was at the same time every day or once per week, that's basically what we do. And it's really served us well. So we really like our new setup. We're thriving, and that's wonderful. Well, as you know, I had a rough 2024, and my newsletter went out, 3 days ago on Tuesday, where I shared a reflection of my month of January, but I also shared just some takeaways coming off of a very challenging year last year. If you don't know, Paul retired in 2024. His official retirement date was June 1st. And so he retired after 36 years working at a large corporation, various roles in there, but pretty much the same exact plant that he worked in, that he started around the age of 18. So he retired at the age of 55, and now he is off doing some consulting work on his own. So now taking the role, like I have, of an entrepreneur. So I'll share that. But he had been in the home the whole year. So the first 6 months while he wasn't fully retired, he was working from home. And so we've spent the whole year together. And that's been a transition for any of you who have gone through something like that. You would know that it is a transition, especially when I'm still working and I work in the home. So I work here and I live here. And then I'm used to having the whole entire day to myself doing my work, and now I have someone in my space. So it's what I call a transition. And one of the specialties of my coaching is life transitions. I actually have a certification in life transitions itself. So as a certified professional coach, I take continuing education units and I get certified in other areas, and life transitions is one of those areas. So I'm very familiar with life transitions, but now I'm living it. But I believe we are always going through a transition. When you go from being single to married, that's a transition. When you go from just the two of you being married to a family with children, that's a transition. And then we transition through different stages of our parenting. And then you just continue to evolve until you get to where Paul and I are now, which is we're transitioning into just the two of us and the kids all being out of the home. So in 2024, not only did I gain another child, my husband, coming into the home, I lost, or my fifth daughter flew the coop. So she moved out at the beginning of August 1st. So a lot of transitions took place in 2024, which just heightened all of the emotional and mental strains that I was enduring. And many of them were a result of me just doing some more internal work, me continuing to increase my friendship with the Lord. And again, I've shared how, although it was one of my mentally and emotionally toughest years of my life, that doesn't mean something couldn't outdo that, and I hope it doesn't. But I don't have that outcome or that plan. That's the Lord's call. I also couldn't be more thankful for what I endured and what I experienced, although it was tough, because it really plays a role as to where I am today and what my steps are moving forward. So this morning, I had a little bit of a different plan when Paul and I had our meeting. I had kind of decided that I wanted to address something with him that's been weighing on me, that's been very heavy on my heart and really weighing on my physically, as you would know. I don't have to share with anyone how we can feel our struggle, not only internally, but externally. I had a really difficult week this past week, and it all started on Sunday. So 1 week ago from today, my oldest daughter and my granddaughter decided to go to church with me. I had invited them because my husband was not going. So I opened it up to them, and they went to church with me, and a conversation started in the car on the way, and we have about a 30-minute drive. So it was perfect that we had that time, but a conversation came up between me and my daughter that just there was some concerns with it, some concerns on the topic and what was shared. While there wasn't any animosity between she and I, it was still just a difficult topic. It was difficult for both of us. So we get to church, and on the way home, we continue our conversation. And because what we uncovered had layers to it, it kind of spiraled a little bit. It magnified because more people got involved, which was the right choice to involve others. But the first few days, it was really heavy, very heavy. Monday and Tuesday were really heavy, and let me share that my church was doing a spiritual fast that started last Sunday and went till Thursday, and I was taking part of it. So Monday and Tuesday, I'm starting this water fast, coffee and water fast, and also enduring some of the stress and anxiety that I was harboring from what resulted from the conversation on Sunday. By Wednesday, I was full-blown, just not in a good place. And the spiritual fast couldn't have happened at a worse time, but I know that God plans all this for my good. He's a loving God, and He tests us, and He gives us trials and tribulations and tests and struggles to strengthen us to lean on Him. So I knew I was going to stay the course, but by Wednesday, I was not well. I was not well. And Thursday, I started to come around. I started to come around, and then we had something happen in the family with one of the grandchildren, a scare. Paramedics were called, the ambulance was there, the police were there. Everything turned out to be okay, but nonetheless, it was a scare. So here we are, just adding to the pot. And by Friday, I was in a good place. In fact, if you watch Friday's Instagram stories, I was celebrating some wins, so check that out. Yes, I'll leave it there because today I'll clear out and add anything new I put in. So I won't clear it out until Sunday. I'll leave it there a couple days. So I was on top of the world, feeling good again, and it kind of went back down. You know how emotions are on Saturday. And just the highs and lows. And it's been weighing on me. I didn't sleep well throughout the week. The fast was troubling. What's going on in the family was troubling. We have sick kids in the family, sick babies, just so much weighing on me. So this morning as I'm getting ready, I thought, Paul, I could hear him. He was up a little bit earlier than normal. So I thought, here's one thing about me. I don't like to just pounce with a topic on someone out of nowhere. I like to give them forewarning that I need to talk to them about something that could be difficult or sensitive to see if it fits in their space. Because I know for me, working from home, you can't just assume that I can just have a conversation with you that's going to last 10, 15, 20 minutes to an hour. You can't assume that. So out of respect for others in their time, I typically will give a heads up or find when would it be suitable for you with whatever you have. I don't assume just because someone's here or he's just waking up, he has that extra time. But I decided that as uncomfortable as it would be, I was going to bring it up unless he had something else that was already pre-scheduled. So he got a second cup of coffee. Actually, I went upstairs to get my second cup. I went into the bedroom while he was drinking his first, and I said, if you have extra time this morning, I want to go over a lot more things coming up, like maybe the whole next month. So I kind of planted it that way. And then talk about just some other things. So he said, yep, I'll be down. He comes down, and I go over the calendar because we have some travel away, not a vacation, just more like a staycation, leaving Michigan weather to go to warmer weather, we hope. I've been watching the forecast, still working, just get away from this weather for a couple of weeks. I needed to go over even my work schedule there because I want to protect some days where we could go out and do something, but I'm also kind of working almost a semi-full, maybe a 3/4 full schedule. So I go over all of that, and before I could even address the topic that I had intended, he brought it up. And he brought up something he was uncomfortable with surrounding it. And he said, yeah, I didn't sleep well last night. And I said, I didn't either. And he said, and then I woke up early. And I said, yeah, I did too. I actually been up since 2. Hence, I'm already fully. So he brought it up, and I just had a click of a moment. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for that gift, that I didn't even have to be the one to bring it up. So we unpacked it. And we unpacked a lot. And we peeled back some layers to it, and it was uncomfortable and sensitive. And, you know, you're bringing up past wounds, past scars, but it needed to be done. And I know myself, I was tiptoeing around it. Like many of you, confrontation is uncomfortable. I think for me, it's not so much confrontation as the time it takes. I don't like the time that confrontation takes. If you're a confrontation avoider, it's good to identify what is it? What is it the fear out of? A lot of mine is just, there is definitely some fear, but a lot of it is just taking the time for it. So it's easier just to sweep it under the rug, let it go. I'll get to it later, kind of like the diet, kind of like the workout program, right? So we uncovered and unpacked a lot, and it was beautiful, and it was needed. It was necessary. And I know that God orchestrated all of this for His purpose. He welcomed this for us to go through for His good, for our good to serve Him in what our unity means and plays in His life, in His purpose. So I share this story today to encourage you, if you're harboring any elephants or carrying any weight, that you take the necessary time to get uncomfortable, to lean into that discomfort and bring it to the surface. There's no better gift that we can give our relationships than communication. I work with a lot of people, and I have 17 years under my belt working with people. And I can share with you that the breakdown of relationships, from what I've observed in my coaching, is because communication wasn't put at the forefront. So if you are doing that, I encourage you today to get uncomfortable, step into your power, and speak the difficult. Speak the truth. Keep your thinking rational. Try to keep your emotions in check so that you can speak from a place that is based on facts, not on feelings, which is often hard to do. And because I've been so sensitive with everything going on, that is also a reason why I've avoided bringing it up, because I feel that my words would be coming from a place of emotion and not from fact. But I knew this morning, because the Lord spoke to me, that I was in a good place and that I was ready. I've been praying about this. I've been in quiet contemplation. I've taken times of solitude to listen to the Lord, and it was the time for this to surface. And then I was presented and rewarded with the gift that I didn't even need to bring it up. Paul brought it up, and it was on the exact thing that I was just about ready to bring up. I hope what I share today touches you where you may need it in whatever relationship. This doesn't have to be your intimate relationship with a spouse or a significant other. It could be with anyone. Make that call, schedule that meeting, and share. So how ironic that this all took place, this divine doing that God purposely allowed in our life. And I believe the adversity that our family just endured over the last week was methodically placed exactly how it was before us, so that this conversation could happen, because what is on the other side? You can have a really good marriage and still have had a marriage with a lot of adversities, a lot of trials, a lot of testing, a lot of questioning whether staying was the right decision. Fortunately, many make the decision to communicate and to be a team and to keep their eye on the prize and know exactly what their core values are, what their why behind the relationship is, and the legacy they're trying to create. And they never lose sight of that. And they know that the Lord has His hands on them and what He wants for them. Others don't see it that way, and that's unfortunate. And if you've ever endured, let's say, your parents not surviving, or you've gone through a heartache of a breakup or divorce for yourself, or just from as a child, you know how difficult it can be, the breakdown of any relationship. So I hope this spoke to you today in whatever way it needed. And my sharing how you do really have to know what your eye is on, where your eye is. And if you can come together as a team, you can overcome anything. But you have to have the Holy Spirit involved. That's why it's the Trinity, right? We're a triangle. Feel free to share any thoughts that you have based on your experience. What I shared with you today is just the story. It's story time. It's not about my story. What is your story? If you've been in a long-term relationship, like my husband and I, again, 34 years ago today, our first date, blind date, and it was not pretty. How did we ever get to where we are today? I think if you listen to everything I just shared, you'll go, I think I know. I've got the answer. If not, just dial that one back and start at the beginning. And it will all make perfect sense. It will all make perfect sense. Paul and I will celebrate 33 years of marriage, May 23rd, when our oldest granddaughter turns 4. Thank you. Thank you for being here to listen. It's tough because I fully believe in respecting privacy, staying a mystery, not sharing everything, but I'm also in a role that my life's work is to help others. And I believe my message today is helping others. I'm not here to make an impression. I'm here to make a difference. And God spoke to me this morning to go against what I planned to film and film this instead. This message for your betterment, for His betterment, for His purpose. And I stayed obedient. So while I respect privacy, including my own, in my family, in my marriage, I chose the path of being obedient, and the Lord wanted me to speak to you today because some of you needed to hear this. So thank you. Thank you. Links to anything that I feel apply will be in the description box below, including the newsletter that I shared earlier this week on Tuesday. Please subscribe to my newsletter. 3 Week Intense is coming up. That starts Monday, March 3rd. There's a link in the description box below to learn more about that. If you want to spend more time with me in deep conversation, that would be the place to be. I'll be happy to help you. Have a good weekend. And make an appointment to have that conversation.